Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Looking for My Fit. Y'all, well, let me introduce myself. In case you've never watched before, I'm Jamaica. I am the host, and I'm so excited because I have someone who has quickly gone from being a stranger to being a sister in like a matter of weeks. And so, without further ado, because we're gonna get into this, we excited. We had to cut our conversation off. Like, save it for the podcast, girl. I would like to welcome Taylor Glynn. Welcome to the podcast, girl.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very
Oh,
grateful to be here.
well, thank you so much for accepting. Uh, so let's talk about how we met and how we know each other. Um, if you are an avid follower of the podcast, and I hope you are, then you've heard me talk about a program that I'm in. It's Patrice Washington's program called Purpose to Platform. And I met Taylor through this program.
Yes.
And this, I can't even describe the sisterhood that has been formed in a matter of weeks. I'm like, how did I not know them before this? What was I doing in life before them? Like I really feel that way. And so people don't think I'm crazy. Would you agree with that?
100%. There's not community like this anywhere. And I feel like we've just become this big sisterhood of incredible women, like lifting each other up. And when one person tries to even fall a little bit, they can't even get halfway down before someone's pulling them back up and pushing them back in purpose. It's incredible.
It's amazing. I mean, it is amazing. The gym I work at is women centric, and the big foundation of it is community and supporting each other. And so we do, have a really good community there. So if they're listening, I don't want them to say, you don't like our community. Yes, I love y'all. I love our community. This is this is something separate and different, and it's something people will have to experience for themselves.
Right.
Everything Taylor says, it's about empowering each other, supporting each other, cheering for each other, making sure people don't fall into their limiting beliefs and thoughts, pushing each other to go better. Go for it, girl. Do it. One person wins. Be like, we all won. We won three.
Exactly.
It's been really good. Okay. Now let's get to how we got here on this podcast. I put up a post recently that said, stop attaching your value to busyness and burnout. And then you made a comment and we were like, hey, we should talk about this. I'm like, yes, we should. Let's set up a date to talk on the podcast. And we did that immediately. And I think that post resonated with you because part of what your call is and your people to serve kind of circles around the same thing.
Yes.
So before we get into that, I just want to hear your story. There's so many, not so many, there's over 100 and maybe 40 of us in that group. You would never know. It feels like an extended family. So it's not like, oh, we know each other. I know names. I know all of that. But I have never really heard your story. So I would like for you to go ahead and share with me and the listeners, what is Taylor's story?
Yes. So again, I'm Taylor Glynn. I founded this ministry called Child Arise, where we give the strong friend permission to rest so that she can refill and relaunch better than before. I was born a leader. I've been in mentorship roles for about 10 years. But although I was giving and helping everybody else, I didn't know my own value and my own identity. And so I poured to the place where I was empty, finally in 2018. And I just fell into this extremely deep depression where I stopped showing up for everything. And the reason why I stopped showing up is because everywhere you go, people say, hey, how are you? As they walk past you. And you don't even have time to say hi back. I know we've all done it. Mm-hmm. I'm guilty myself.
Guilty.
But that became my biggest pet peeve because it forced me to acknowledge every single time that I was not okay. And so I locked myself in my apartment in the darkness, and I would pray that the Holy Spirit would put my daughter to bed at night because I didn't have the capacity even for that. And I was managing an apartment complex at the time. So one day I was sitting in my office with my boss, who's also my mentor, And when we finished our work for the day, she asked a question that I know she had no clue was going to change my life. And she said, "So, how's Lila doing?" And Lila's my daughter. She was 7 at the time, and she was not doing well at all. She was about to get kicked out of school for her behavior, and we had just found out that she experienced her own trauma that triggered my childhood trauma and the 10 years that built up after that. And so when she asked that question, I just broke down, and she looked at me all wide eyed because up until that point, I had on an extremely great mask that everything was fine. And when we finished that conversation, I basically just let her know, like, I'm really struggling as a single mom. I'm serving in all these leadership roles. No one is helping me. And I'm dealing with depression. I'm in counseling. My daughter now has to be in counseling. And by the end of that conversation, we're both in tears. And she asked me, "Is there anyone who can help you?" And my immediate answer was no, because I've carried everything myself for so long. But the truth was, it was just going to cause me to make a decision to get uncomfortable. My parents had moved to Colorado 2 years prior to a town of only 7 stoplights. And I was living in Phoenix, Arizona, born and raised. So they were willing and able to help me. And so that day, I quit my job. I quit all my leadership responsibilities. And 2 weeks later, my daughter and I moved up to that tiny town just in time for the worst winter in 10 years to
Wow.
live, to live in my parents' guest house, which was a garage that they turned into a studio. And I say I went up there to the mountains just to sit at the feet of Jesus and heal. And so out of that cabin is where Child Arise was birthed, where now I teach women how to uproot every false identity and ideology, to plant seeds of truth, to prepare for wholeness so that they can grow into the women that they were created to be.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, Taylor. Somebody is listening to this right now. And I mean, I'm not wishing that somebody just released something
Yeah.
listening to that. There are so many women who relate to that. And I can resonate with that on such a grand level
Yeah.
of being the person who can't, and the strong person trying to carry it all.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's this. Well, let me ask you this: where do you think that came from? That
Yeah.
that that.
I think there's multiple things as I think about, boundaries and burnout and where I was at and people pleasing and this desire to always say yes. And as I've been kind of working through, limiting beliefs and where did that come from, I feel like the one, like I said, I was born a leader. Like, I was talking at 9 months old, running down the street at 11 months old. Like, this is just who I am.
Yeah.
And the enemy will use what God has given you. He'll still kill and destroy it. And so that's exactly what he tries to do through these incredible, powerful women, right? And so when I was 16, I was in this situation where I had told a grown man no, and he didn't listen to me. And so I grew up thinking that my voice is not powerful. My no is not enough.
Wow.
And I didn't realize like how that was connected to my people pleasing, of me just saying, let me say yes, because if I say no, they're not going to listen anyways.
Wow. Well, okay. Let me take that in for a second.
Yeah.
First, like, gosh, like that. Okay, hold on. Let me hold myself together. That makes me so mad.
Right.
Because, hold on. Look, there's nothing wrong with vulnerability, but that makes me so mad because I have daughters.
Yeah.
I mean, and even if I didn't have daughters, that would make me so mad that anybody can't respect your boundaries, but let alone an adult and a child.
Right.
To not respect those boundaries, to have something going on where you would do that to a child.
Right.
That just infuriates me.
Yeah.
And I can't even, you think about how like a lot of things lead back to childhood. So if you look at a lot of the things that you did, even if you live like like if you came from a great family and things are good, there's still like things that happen in your life that even as an adult years later still stick with you.
Yes.
And there can be small things, like little things that happen. That's a major thing that happened.
Right.
Are you okay with me asking you more questions about that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
What did you tell anybody when that happened, or?
Yeah. So I didn't even know that it was wrong until I was like 23.
Wow.
So it was like this cycle of the same kind of thing happening. And I didn't really know my own identity, my own worth. I wasn't really covered. And so I just continued to be in this space where my identity and my worth was attached to my body. And so I think that's why we people please so much, because we don't know ourselves. And so when we start to, um, we get these customer service jobs and we have this customer service mentality. So then it follows us into our real life, not just at work, where we're like, let me say yes, let me say yes. And people start to see how great you are because you're showing up for them. And then your identity is attached to that because people like me, they need me. Let me just keep saying yes, let me keep saying yes. And then that's when you get to this point of burnout. But I didn't know that anything was wrong until I was in my 20s.
That I cannot even imagine the impact that that has on your life and how you move.
Yeah.
Because those little things happen and you're like, well, where did that come from? You just gave me a whole therapy session. I am so serious. I'm so serious. Like where you say yes to a lot of things. And so, well, let me say this for me, I had a lot of things and I've had to unpack this stuff recently
Yeah.
because I was getting in that mindset of this is just who I am. You know, and you operate in that. But God has been breaking me down over this last year, forcing me into vulnerability,
Yeah.
which I've fought forever because I had that thing of, I bet you won't break me. I bet you won't
Right.
break me. And so, in saying that and never processing the feelings, it's this wall there. But like you, it just takes like one thing that sends me over the edge, and I'm in church bawling, crying, husband wondering what in the world is happening over here.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I'll hug you. I don't know where this is coming from. That impact is crazy. I'm serious. When you said that, literally, well, not literally, my light bulb, it might have flashed. Like, if something went off in my head, like, that is exactly what happened. So, in addition to me being like, what's the word? Trying to be the strong person,
Yes.
dealing with certain things, and like not wanting to give in or not let to try to keep people from seeing like that they got to me.
Right.
I also experienced death not until I was a teenager, and the first time I really experienced it was with somebody very close to me, and it happened in front of me. So I watched my gosh, Taylor, you are really pulling out the vulnerability in me here. I'm like, let me pull
Literally
myself.
where Child Arise came from.
Oh,
Is dealing with that broken girl so that you can become that woman. That's what it is.
Taylor, you got the gift because I'm like, wait a minute, I got a floodgate of tears about to flow down my face. But I watched my grandmother die on the floor of her bedroom, and um, it was so sudden and so unexpected. So she had a heart attack, and she was fine one day, and I lived next to her. She was a retired teacher. I never went to preschool. I stayed with her and my aunt, and they were my grown-up best friends. And to watch her die on that floor like that, and to see the impact it had on my dad and my mom, and like for years I used to have this dream where I would be with her and then it would flash and we would be back in that space. I mean, for years, because I lost her so quick. And then the sister, my aunt, who was like my other grandmother, she died the next year. And I swear, I think she just died of a broken heart because they had been together. Um, Having that loss and having never experienced it until I was like 17, I became a people pleaser because I was so scared that if I didn't say yes and do stuff for people, that they would die. And I know that sounds morbid, but that then I would be carrying that with me.
Right.
Um, because I felt like I hadn't done everything I could have done, time I could have spent. So I said yes to everything.
Yeah.
Everything, Taylor. I mean, anything anybody had going, even if I had something else I wanted to do, I'm like, yes, I will be there. Yes, I will do it. Yes, I will come.
Me
And
too.
it became this vicious cycle of me. I had anxiety about telling people no. Because I would say, well, but what if I say no and then they die? And again, I know that sounds crazy, but that was where my mind was. And so, to your point, when you start becoming that people pleaser and you do everything, people do see you. Jamaica shows up.
Yep.
Jamaica's always dependable.
Count on her. Yeah.
And then there you are inside dying.
Yes. With a mask on your face that everything's incredible and you're this wonderful person and you're smiling and you're helping everyone else and you're broken inside.
I'm telling you, I didn't bring tissues in here. I might have to wipe my face with my shirt. I'm like, hold yourself together, Jamaica. Hold it together. So tell me, you get to your parents. You say your parents are in Colorado.
Yes.
What's the process for getting to where you are now?
Yeah. So I hibernated. Like, one, again, I was born and raised in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm very much a city girl. My family camps and animals and all that. I'm just not the one, you know? I just So my daughter's very much like my mom. So she was outside with the horses and the dogs and just being a free spirit, which she needed after what she went through as well. She was able to get that like outside therapy in the woods and the mountains, you know, with the animals. And for me, I just stayed in our cabin and I wrote a lot, like journaled consistently. I was in the Word a lot, listening to sermons, in prayer. I really had to surrender everything that I had been carrying, just at the feet of Jesus. Like, I had to say, I cannot carry this anymore. Like, you have to take it, because I don't have the capacity to do anything at this point. Like, for my daughter, for myself, for my family. Like, my family was saying I needed medication. It was like consistently having anxiety breakdowns and really just having to allow myself to feel that. Because for so long I was like, I can't feel that. I can't, you know, it was numbness. And I say all the time, numbness is not healing.
It's not.
We think because I'm not feeling it, I'm good. But it's going to bottle up, it's going to come out, and it's going to spill onto everything around you because you're not. Like, you have to deal with all of that is inside of you for you to be the whole version of yourself. So I had to get past the numbness. I had to say, this is going to hurt, but I have to feel it because I have to get past it.
Taylor, are you sure you're not supposed to be a therapist? I mean, I know. Oh, hold on. Look, this. Are you? Oh, hold on. Did I lose you? Hold on. Where we go?
No, I'm here.
I'm like, people don't love people. I got a podcast going here. You, when I say you are breaking this down, I'm like, how Taylor? I mean, I know Taylor know me, but Taylor don't know me. How Taylor know me? How does Taylor know me? You are. I know if this is there's somebody listening right now, seriously, and I said it before, tears streaming. I know this is resonating with somebody. That numbness, that's what I was operating in, Taylor.
Yes.
I was the person when things happen, I'm the one that will usually be called, and I'm okay with that. So let me preface it with that, because I'm the one who could keep the level head in a situation.
Right.
Never gonna get super excited. I'm saying, okay, I get what you're saying, but let's focus on the solution real quick.
Yeah, the calm in the chaos.
Yes. So that's not a bad quality to have, but it's bad when you then don't let yourself go and process it.
Yes.
I was like, solution, we got it, done. Solution, got it, done. I've learned to numb myself to things because it was easier than feeling it. And when you just said, okay, this is going to hurt, I could have passed out because it did. It hurt a lot to open up and process that.
Yeah.
So so as you open up and you say, okay, I'm going to feel this. I don't know how to quite frame this, because I want to frame it for somebody who is in this process right now, who has made like, God, I have to surrender this to you because I truly don't know what else to do. And then you have to open up your heart and be willing to feel all of those things. When you get to that place and you feel that gut punch, that slap, For me, the first thing I wanted to do was, never mind, I go back.
Right.
I will go back
That.
because this is trash. I don't want to do this. How what kept you pushing through the pain?
I think part of it was just because I was not in the environment that I was comfortable in. So, because I had literally uprooted my entire life to move to this little tiny town, like I didn't really have a choice but to go through it, or I was going to have to move back. I think it was really like a Gomer moment of I was sick of myself.
Mm.
And so when I got sick of myself, then I was like, hey, whatever you want from me is what I'm going to do. And, you know, his burden is easy and his yoke is light, you know, so it may hurt, but it doesn't compare to feeling him with you in it, because you do, you know, when you fully surrender it to him, he's not going to leave you out there on the street by yourself. You know,
Yeah.
he's going to wrap you in his arms. He's going to cover you under his wings for refuge. Like, he has you with him. So when you feel that, you're like, okay, this hurts, but you know that it's for your good. And I've always said, like, everything I've been through is not about me. So it's about the people that I am called, you know, to help. And so I knew that me walking through that was so that I could be who I always wanted to be. Like, you being the strong friend, you being that one who's pouring into everyone and saying yes, it's because you want to be that. But you can't be that fully until you heal. So once you walk through that healing process, then you can really show up as that person that everyone sees, complimenting you, saying how great you are, how wonderful you are. And you're not going home at night, why don't I see it?
Yes.
Why am I tired? Why do I feel like I'm capable of more and don't know how to get there?
Girl, Taylor, you are the truth, girl. You are the truth. I'm sitting here, my heart is beating kind of fast. I'm like, she is the truth. This is real deal. Okay. When do you get to the point? Because I feel like there's a point where you feel the shift.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm making the change. I'm doing the things. When was the first moment that you realized, okay, I'm coming out on the other side of this thing?
Yeah. So, oh, that's a hard one, because it was like a year process. And when I first moved up there, my mom's friends would be like, hey, like, are you excited to be here? And I would just start crying because no, I'm not. I'm struggling right now. But after doing all this, like, you know, really working on myself, I started to feel better, but I hadn't been fully obedient. So I moved my life up there, broke up with a relationship, but I kind of continued that relationship throughout being up there. And that was something God very clearly told me to get out of multiple times. So because I was hanging on to that depression kept arising. Like, I would be good and then it would come back up, and then I would be good and then it would come back up. And it wasn't until I fully cut that off where I was like, I have to make a decision. Am I choosing death, because that's what it was? Or am I choosing everything that God has said I am and that he has for me? Which one am I going to pick? And I was like, I can't keep sitting in this depressive state where my mom's saying I need medication and I feel like a schizophrenic person, because literally 1 minute I'm fine and the next minute, I'm not even over exaggerating, 1 minute I'm fine and the next minute I'm not. Like, I was going crazy. And I was like, this is not what he has for me. So when I fully cut that off, it was like that full year of work came full circle. And I was like, I'm a brand new person.
What? And it's amazing how that can happen. It comes with familiarity.
Yeah.
It's not even about, is it good for me?
Right.
One of the sayings a lot of people say is, I'd rather deal with the devil I know than the devil I don't.
Nope.
And that's the worst saying ever, one of the worst. I'd rather deal with the devil I know than the devil I don't. So sometimes we know we're in a toxic situation.
Yeah.
You know that person is not good for you. You know that relationship is not benefiting you, but it's familiar. You know how to operate with that person. You know the little things about them. And because of that, you hold on to it because it's comfortable, even though it's chaotic.
Right.
So to someone who's listening right now, who is in that space, how did you go about just saying, how did you cut it off? How did you make that clean, finally make that break?
Yeah, typically when you're in that, you've had the back and forth already. Like you've had these conversations of I can do this, I can't do this, like breakups and conversations of is this really going to work? And so there was plenty of those. So finally I was just like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. Like God's told me no more than once, and I'm going to go ahead and choose him. And I just blocked him on everything. Like we make it so much harder than it needs to be. It's really not that difficult. And like I've been saying lately that I didn't realize that we use our resilience to stay stuck in these terrible situations, right? Like because we are resilient, because we know that we can overcome things, because we know what it feels like to hurt and have someone hurt us, and we don't want to put that on somebody else. I know I can carry it, but I don't know if you can carry it, and so I don't want to do that to you. We stay in these relationships because we know we can carry it. But just because you can carry it doesn't mean you should carry it. And the whole block button is not that difficult to hit,
Look, I feel like I need to get an umbrella. Taylor, you dropping gems, girl. I'm like, wait, I'm about to get clucked up inside my head. Girl, you are dropping that thing. It's not that hard. You really can cut it off, but it does come down to that's the strong friend that you talk about a lot. I don't want to put, I'm used to holding things together, so let me hold this together too, even though you knew it wasn't there. So to someone who's listening, if this is you, it's we're making it harder than what it has to be.
Yeah. And you're worth more than that. Like you have to know that you are worth more than that, because that's what it comes down to. Like we think that what is in front of us is good enough. And we don't realize like God literally has so much more for you. His ways are not your ways. His thoughts are not your thoughts. Like his ways are higher. His thoughts are higher. And so if you would just acknowledge that, what is in front of you may look nice, but it's not God's best for you. And you know that because you don't have peace about it, because you're confused. And he's not the God of confusion.
Taylor, we're best friends now.
We're sisters, remember?
Oh my God. I'm serious. There's a feeling I have even in my chest right now as you're talking, because I know that to be true. Mm-hmm. I know that to be true. And if people can find it within themselves to surrender, God does have so much in store. He wants good for you. He doesn't want you to be in a situation that is making you feel one way 1 minute and literally the next minute feeling something totally different.
Right.
Okay, girl, we about to have church in here. Let's pass around the collection plate. Pass it around right now. So we collect him right now. Okay, so Child Arise. Let's talk about it. We come through.
Yep.
Where does how did you get the idea? Okay, I need to do something with this.
Yeah. So Child Arise really came from the woman with the issue of blood and Jairus' daughter. Like we've heard that story so many times in church, but I was like, okay, cool. But when you actually read a scripture that's been taught so many times in church, so much more gets revealed to you about it. And so there's so much in that story that I could probably talk to you for like 3 hours about it. That's why it's a whole ministry. But really it is us dealing with, like, she had this issue for 12 years, right? Yeah. Before she was like, I'm going to press to Jesus no matter what. I've tried men. I've tried doctors. I've tried medication. And I'm saying like, we do this in real life, right? I've tried men. I've tried medication. I've said I have an issue myself. So I've separated myself from people. We've done that. But after 12 years, she finally was like, Jesus is here. And if I just press to him,
if I can just
press to him, regardless of what anyone else says, regardless of what anyone else thinks, let me press to him. And when she did that, she said she was healed, but he didn't say she was healed until he called her daughter. And so us knowing our identity as daughter is what allows us to be healed. And when you get further, it talks about Jairus' daughter, and there's a whole story around that as well. But he says, "Child, arise." And she arose immediately. And he said she was not dead, she was just sleeping. And so many of us women feel like these parts of us have died, that I can't be vulnerable anymore. I can't ask for help. I can't, whatever it is, fill in the blank for you. But that part of you is not dead. She's just sleeping because you shut that part of you down. And so if we can get to that part, that part of you that's broken, that part of you that's sleeping, and we can heal her, then you can arise immediately as God's daughter and be the woman that you were created to be. So that's child arises like around that. Because if we get to that, then you can be what you want to be.
Sign me up, Taylor. Sign me up right now. Do you hear me? Send me the link to the landing page. That is so good. That is so good, Taylor.
It's God. He did it. He did it.
The way you have taken your life experience and turned that into healing for others is just God. Mm-hmm. Even like you're talking about the person that you were, and it's hard for me to picture because of who I'm seeing now. I can't even picture. It's like we should get. God was always reading, giving people new names. You need a new name, girl.
Right.
Because
I'm getting one because I'm engaged now, so we're getting married in a couple more.
Look at that.
I'm getting one.
And I was going to touch on that at the end. We're coming around to that. I know you just got engaged not too long ago. You are not dead. That person is not. Okay, Taylor, listen to me. You listen to me. I have chills on my arms right now because I told you earlier, I'm called to serve moms, women who have children who have lost who they are within their family.
Yeah.
And what you just said speaks to that. Sometimes we get within that, you become a mom, you're trying to live up to what you believe society has said a mother is supposed to be. You lose all sight of you, who you were. I recently had another podcast episode, and I talked to the woman and the lady I had on there. I told her, when you picture growing up and doing whatever it is that you imagine doing, not once did I ever say, well, this is what I want to do, but I don't know how that's going to get affected when I have children. I never said that.
Yeah.
And I knew I wanted to, like, I always had that thought of, I'll get, married one day. I'll have kids. I have a family. So it wasn't that it was unexpected, but what was unexpected was loss of self in that. And once I created boundaries, something I wanted to talk about too, Jamaica reemerged and she wasn't dead. Mm-hmm. She was asleep. Yeah. Oh God, I could cry right now. Okay. Yeah. And people, vulnerability is okay. I just don't want my thoughts to get lost in the tears. But Jamaica was still there. She was still there. She was asleep. You think like it's done. And so I really want women to reclaim that status of being God's daughter and knowing that he does want more for us and that you can live a life that feels good. Just point blank, period. You can live a life that feels good. There is space for you. There is room for you. You can be healed from these thoughts and these, what a lot of times, unnecessary, what's the word I'm looking for? Weight that you've put on yourself.
Right.
Because what I realized is I was the one putting the weight on.
Exactly.
I wanted to blame it on other people, but it was me. Mm-hmm. It was me. And I think it took that breakdown that I had to that point. I didn't know what to do. I was just, God, I don't like the way I feel. I don't like this. I feel like I don't know who I am. I feel like I don't recognize myself. And it took that for me to make those steps.
Right.
So with the boundaries, let's come back to you in boundaries. You
Mhm.
talked about that today.
Yep.
Girl, the way you dropping gems, let's go ahead and break that down too. Let's talk about this. So you're not dead, you're asleep, and we can get this back. And some of that comes down to boundaries.
100%.
Yeah.
Pretty much all of it does. I mean, it's identity and boundaries. But when you have identity, you could set boundaries. Because if you don't know where you're at, how do you know what to set up as a boundary around you if you're just moving left to right, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, today I shared, before you try to figure out how to balance everything you're doing, see if you just need boundaries first. Because we have all these things on our plate of mom, wife, leader, work, all these different things. And we continue to say yes to our friends and yes to our family and yet just yes to everybody. And then we think, I need to learn how to balance everything. How do I work out every day and serve my kids and serve my husband and serve my church and serve my community? And like, you don't. You don't do all that.
Oh, oh my God, Taylor, you're gonna wait till you see this reel that I had. I haven't put it up yet because I was, doctoring it up.
Yeah.
But what I have for the caption is, how do you manage it all? And then I have the colon. I said, my answer is simple. I don't.
Yes.
I don't manage it all. And I don't say that like I don't have it together. I choose not to manage it all anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't.
And
I
it's
don't.
so freeing.
Taylor,
It's so freeing.
the freedom that I feel from realizing I don't have to manage it all.
Yeah.
That was me trying to put my hands in everything because I thought, that's what you do. And I think part of that does come back to that people pleasing part too, but also what we've kind of been fed growing up, even just in TV, movies, the mom is always exhausted and tired.
Yep.
She's always worn out, but you know what? The kids are happy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they usually show. So you're like, well, this is what I signed up for. And it does not have to be that way.
It doesn't. And your kids probably aren't happy.
Taylor, where did you? I'm telling you, girl, get my umbrella out. Jim's dropping. They're not. My kids now, my oldest, so I talk to her all the my youngest are 8. My oldest is about to be 15. And I have very open and candid conversations with her. And she loves seeing what I'm doing now. We have like a great relationship, and she's always like, yes, girl, period. Yes. She has her notifications turned on for me. So when I post something, she's always my first like.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just trying to show all of them, it is about creating boundaries.
Yeah.
You don't have to do it all. So I don't want them to come up thinking either way, my girls or my son, that the mom does it all.
Yeah.
And so
That's
they go in.
generational.
Yes. So then they go in thinking the moms do it all. Or my son goes in thinking, well, the wife does it all. No, like I don't know. That's not what we're setting here.
Mm-hmm.
We're setting something different. I tell my mom did a lot of stuff, a lot. And she listens to the podcast. Hey, mommy. And
Hey, mom.
yes, hey, mom. Yeah, she'd be like, Jamaica. But I want people to know your name, mom. But she used to be the person who did it all. Now she is still like my rock, meaning if I need her, I know I can call her. She'll listen to me. We have that relationship. But when I was younger, she subscribed to that, doing all the things for everybody and then being tired and having no space for herself.
Yeah.
One of the most powerful things I saw my mom do was 3. She was really into medicine and medical stuff. She decided to go back to school. She left a job, went back to school full time, and got a scholarship to do that. She got her degree, and then she was working for. She got a job working for EMT. She was an EMT,
Mm-hmm.
and I love watching her leave the house dressed in her EMT stuff to go
Yeah.
out there. And we had a scanner at the house. So I would hear when they would get calls and I'd be like, oh, there goes mama. And then she would come back and tell us all of these stories about things that she experienced. And I thought that was so great. I love hearing that stuff. Then so she went back to school. She went to get became an EMT. Well, the other thing was got another job and she was working at a hospital, but she was commuting. And so she would come home and she would be so tired. Now, all I knew was, for the most part, and Daddy, I love you. I don't know if he's listening. Daddy did stuff too. But my mama had just kind of taken that on of being the one that does all the things.
Yeah.
She came home one day and she had a talk with a friend at work. And she was telling a friend how tired she was. She said, well, what are you doing? And so she gave the list of all the things she's doing. And her friend's name is Becky. She said, why are you doing all of this stuff?
Right.
The stuff that you are doing, they are all fully capable of doing this stuff for themselves. You are wearing yourself out and they're sitting at the house chilling. They can get their clothes together. They can wash their own clothes. She was making this list. My mom came home that day, walked in the house and made the announcement, I am no longer doing anybody's clothes. Like, she gave us a rundown of the things she was no longer doing, and she didn't do them anymore. And it was a little fun. Yeah, but guess what? We did it.
Yeah.
We survived. We survived, Taylor. We survived. And that gave her some time back. When she got home, she could just sit down.
Yeah, well, she deserves it.
Yes. So I just kind of, remembered that in finding myself of, Jamaica, what was one of the things that really, stood out to you that your mom did? And that was it. And then I realized I was okay. And my kids will be okay too.
Yep. You realize that people don't actually care when you say no, like the first time you say it. They're just like, oh, okay, someone else will do it then.
Exactly.
It's not that hard.
It's not that hard. They can figure it out and you'll get more. Initially, it feels a little, because you're so used to trying to do it all.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh, okay, wait a minute. Hold on. I feel like I'm hearing a little echo here. Do you hear that?
It's just like feedback.
Okay, I wasn't sure. I was making sure. But initially, I'm like, no, I should do it. I should hop in and help. I shouldn't sit on the sidelines. And then the more you do it and the more you see that, like, they're good, you're like, oh, okay.
Life went on.
Okay.
You're replaceable.
Yeah, so I'm like, they're good. So one of the examples I gave the other day was I needed to be in 2 places the other day and I couldn't. And I didn't feel bad. My daughter had her last basketball game, my oldest. My youngest needed to be somewhere. I said, oh, they have a online platform where I can watch her basketball game. So guess what? I'm gonna be cheering from the phone and I'll also be with her. And I was good. I wasn't like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't. I was like, hey.
Yeah, you can't carry that guilt.
Can't carry that guilt.
Yeah, there's one of you.
What would you say to somebody who's struggling to create those boundaries?
Oh, I'm like, everything. Yeah, like you have to. I think, again, so much of it goes back to just identity, but you have to say no. And you have to know that it's okay when you say no, because I think Miles Monroe talks about purpose, and he talks about when you know your purpose, you won't waste your time on anything outside of that. So like reading books that don't align with your purpose or going places or things like that. And so when you know what you're called to do and who you're created to be, then you don't say yes to things that don't align with that, So it really is like this place where, first of all, it's easy to just start saying no. So just start there, because that's a quick one, But what I always say is, like, look at your whole schedule. What does your schedule look like for this week? Because we all plan it out, right? Especially moms. You're planning out your schedule. Who's cooking? What am I cooking? When am I going grocery shopping? When do my kids need to be somewhere? What does my whole schedule look like? And then what can you cross off of that list that's not in alignment with who you're trying to become? Not who you used to be, but who you're trying to become. Because sometimes we hold on to things for too long. Like, I'm still serving in this role and I'm still doing this and this and this, but it's not in alignment with where you're going. So look at your whole schedule for this week and then cross off whatever's not where you're going.
Girl,
You got to know where you're going first.
you gotta know. And then when you start, because I bet somebody listening thought you were saying the normal, just make your schedule so you know. You like, no, make the schedule, cross some stuff out.
Cross it off.
Make a schedule, cross it out before you check it off. You don't have to check it off, you can cross it out.
Yeah. And then call those people and tell them you're not going to make it.
I'm telling you, Taylor, today, somebody had called me and asked about, like, they wanted to talk about something, and old me would have found a way to fit it in today.
Yeah.
But Jamaica, who knows how to create boundaries, said, I didn't even give the option for today. I legitimately looked at my calendar and I didn't even give a full day. I gave time slots. I was like, hey, would be happy to talk to you. Here are the times that I'm available. Got the text as proof. Here are the times during that day when I'm available. Hopefully these will work for you. It was just that we're so used to, I got to do it all. No, I don't have to do it all. And
you can't do it all.
No, and if the thought of doing it makes you feel stressed, you shouldn't be doing it.
Exactly.
That's what it comes down to. I knew trying to fit in that call today would stress me because I didn't have time. I had other things that had to be done. Like there were some things I couldn't cross off. I was like, they got to get done.
Yeah.
But this one does not have to get done. And I'm not going to try to squeeze it in. But on this day, let me look through my calendar. Oh, I'm good on this day. And at this time, does this work for you? And that's a good feeling. That's a really good feeling.
Yeah.
All right. So 2 more things before we cut out, before we end this. Taylor, I could talk to you all day. I'm going to have to cut myself off. I could talk all day. Child Arise. Is this something that you already have in place? Because I know, this is something you could have been working on doing this. Is this something that's coming? What are the details? Because somebody's listening right now and they say they need you. You are their person. What can they do?
So for most of like the coaching retreat type stuff that I'm going to be doing, that stuff is coming. Everything's kind of in process right now, but over the next 4 weeks at least, my book will be out, which is going to be a workbook called Thriving Through Depression. Yeah. So it's going to be just 10 practical steps to thrive through depression, that burnout state, so that you can reevaluate your life and kind of get through it. I don't want to call it a workbook because I know work sounds more draining on top of it. So figuring out something else for that, but that will be out in the next 4 weeks. I will also have some I am affirmation cards coming out. But right now my Instagram is the best place to follow me because you'll be able to see everything that's coming out. And I share stuff like this consistently throughout the week, just for the strong friend, for the one who's burned out, the one, for that friend.
I love your page. You are so consistent in posting stuff. It is, if you need some inspiration or you need somebody to lift you up for a second, go to Taylor's page.
Here for you.
She is there for you. And I put it, if you're watching this, I have it down here at the bottom. But if you're listening and if you're driving, I'll still have it in the show notes. But it's Taylor Christian Glynn. Taylor is spelled Taylor, then Christian, like you would think. And then Glynn, Glynn, Taylor Christian Glynn. That's so exciting. See, I didn't know you had the workbook coming out and the I am affirmation cards. Girl,
that's what God said to do first. So I'm being obedient.
Yes, I love it. I'm telling somebody, you're going to get some followers and people are going to be waiting because you are their person.
I'm hurrying. It's coming.
It's coming. Yes, it's coming, and it will be worth the wait.
Yes, it will.
Now, your obedience and you surrendering to God and cutting off that relationship that you knew God had already told you, Taylor Christian Glynn, step away from this thing.
Yep.
Opened you up to a beautiful relationship.
Yes.
And a new fiance, girl.
Yep.
Yeah, but give us some deets. Give us some deets.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, like he does more than you could imagine. So what you're hanging on to that's confusing and causing depression is not, if you knew what is on the other side of it, you would have dropped it a long time ago, you know?
Yes.
But yeah, we met at church. He taught in my daughter's class. And I mean, it's just been God from day one. He had been praying about some specific things. And when I reached out to him the first time, it was about what he was praying about. And we just consistently have been in alignment. So being able to be obedient together and set these God standards, like generationally for our family, has been more than I could have imagined. So having someone who pushes you in purpose and sees what God is birthing inside of you and allows you to do that is incredible. So we got engaged December 31st, just this last December 31st.
Yes.
And we're getting married April 24th. And even still, God is just doing everything incredible for us. So,
girl, that is soon.
Yes, it is.
That is soon.
When you're out here being obedient, you're trying to hurry
yes.
the up.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Look, okay, so I have a confession to make. When we first got in P2P, I didn't know everybody, but I was looking through people's profiles when they would comment, because we had to do like intro videos.
Yeah.
So I went to your page. Your engagement was beautiful.
Wasn't it though?
I was like, this proposal is so beautiful. But I didn't want to, I couldn't say anything at the time because I was like, we're not even friends. I'm just over here scrolling through her page. Girl, your proposal was beautiful. It was so beautiful.
I was blown away. It was, yeah. It was incredible.
That's obedience. If this is the story of, you know, we talk about the closed hand where you're holding on so tight. And you're like, but if you keep holding on, how will you be able to hold what God has for you?
Yeah.
You can't open up your hands to receive when you're like this with your fists clenched all the time.
Bleeding, trying to hang on to
pressing.
What you're not supposed to be hanging on to.
Yes. Until you let go, you fully surrender, and God showed up and showed out.
Yes.
Showed
exceedingly up and abundantly above.
Oh,
yeah.
Taylor, you are the truth. Do you hear me?
Thank
you. You are the truth. And the people you have been called to serve are about to be healed, and they're about to have their lives changed in a way they didn't even think it could be changed.
That's my prayer.
Girl, I'm praying with you. I'm claiming I already see it.
Thank you.
Well, I'm excited, and I hope that, no, I don't have to hope. I know that some of this has resonated. There's something in this whole podcast that has resonated with everybody in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So like I said before, if you want to be inspired, go over there and follow her on Instagram at Taylor Christian Glynn, and just be ready for Child Rise. It is coming. I am so excited, and I'm so proud of you. And I'm also so happy that we were able to meet and connect.
Me too. Thank you so much.
You're what? We're sisters for life. I hope you know that. We need the hashtag sisters for life.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I love you, girl.
Love you too. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. All right, guys, we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in. Go forth, be great, and set those boundaries. Free yourself. And if you need help getting yourself freed, head over to Taylor's page, get the inspiration. And then when she puts that link up for Child to Rise, go ahead, click that link and get in that program. All right, guys, we'll talk to you later. Bye.